The Mario 64 ROM hacking community is absolutely insane, with thousands of ROM hacks spanning the course of over 15 years. What this community has been able to accomplish over the years is truly amazing, and in this video we're going to be looking at the history of Super Mario 64 ROM hacks. So let's go back to 1996, the year Super Mario 64 came out. So to do a ROM hack, you need to be able to access the ROM file in the cartridge. In 1996 though, there was really only two ways to do this. One was if you happen to have a dev kit. The second way this could have been possible is through a device called the Dr. V64. This device was mainly used for piracy. It costed $450, it allowed you to back up ROMs, and it also allowed you to play backups on the Nintendo 64 system. If you've ever seen a Nintendo 64 ROM file with the extension .v64, it's because of this. So technically with this tool, you could extract a ROM, edit it, and put it back and play it on the 64 console. So they were technically possible even in the year 1996. But with the Dr. V64 being so niche and Nintendo 64 emulation not existing yet, no one was even thinking about making Super Mario 64 ROM hacks. So consumers weren't really able to do anything ROM hacking related when the game came out. In August 1997, the Game Shark was released, so that let you hack the game a little bit. And although later Game Shark models would let you back up your games, backing up your games would be almost pointless though, because there'd be nothing you could do with the game on your computer because emulators didn't exist yet. In 2005, the Nintendo 64 emulator started getting pretty good, with Project 64 being incredibly popular, and people playing Nintendo 64 on their computer started getting more and more normalized. So now with people having easy access to the ROM file and easy access to test out their modification via an emulator, now is the perfect time for the first ROM hack. The very first Mario 64 hack came out August 27, 2005 and was released through a YouTube video. This was made by VL Tone, who recently changed their name to Starkson. This ROM hack replaces Mario with Luigi. At the time when this video came out, people didn't even understand what a ROM hack was. In January, Starkson released a video called Mario 64 Mod 2006. The description reads, "A modification of Super Mario 64 that I did with my own level editor. It'll be released somewhere in the future as a public beta." Although this video may not seem like much, especially in today's standard, to have an editor for Mario 64 as early as 2006 is insane. On July 31st, 2006, he released a teaser video for the editor. On April 9th, 2007, Toadstools was finally released. With Toadstools, you're able to change textures and edit object and enemy locations. It was constantly getting updates and had a bunch of other really cool features. Having just Toadstools though is like having a can without a can opener. Since Toadstools didn't allow for any new maps or any sort of custom geometry, a majority of the hacks that were coming out were just changed textures and moving around the objects that were inside a level. On January 27, 2008, Starkson released Flat World Battlefield. This was the first Mario 64 hack with custom geometry. On April 21st, 2008, Frobber made Slide Battlefield, his first hack. And if we look at Frobber's YouTube channel, he was on a roll of just learning Mario 64 hacking. He would make ROM hacks with custom objects that he would be able to move around with Toadstools. Then he would release these ROM hacks so other people could move around these objects and make their own hacks. On April 19th, 2009, Frobber released Super Mario 64 The Missing Stars. Now this is an actual game. Every hack that came out prior to this just kind of seems like people learning how to hack. The Missing Stars contains 38 stars, has a very reasonable difficulty, and it's just a really fun hack in general. It features a day-night cycle, you're able to swap between Mario and Luigi, contains custom music, and for the first major hack that was ever released, it is incredibly impressive that it came out in 2009. When it came to downloading ROM hacks, most people just had them on their own websites or in download links in YouTube descriptions. There was one site that hosted them though, romhacking.net. This site is still up today, and it contains hacks for thousands of different games. Since this website had so many different games on it, it didn't have much features for specific games, so overall this site wasn't used that much by the 64 community. On October 10th, 2009, Frobber released the Wavefont OBJ importer. You'd use the OBJ importer to get your own custom levels into the game, and then you would use Toadstools to do the coin layouts and enemy placement. so the full potential of Toadstools could finally be unleashed. Anybody with decent ROM hacking understanding could now make a full hack. This was a great day for the ROM hacking community. On February 11, 2010, Frobber changed the name to the Mario 64 Level Importer. This level importer was worked on and updated a lot. One of the only notable hacks that was released this year is Super Mario 64 Christmas Carnival Special by Skillux. Although this is the first time I'm mentioning Skillux in this video, he also made a level for Missing Stars, and this Christmas hack was a teaser for his upcoming hack, Star Road. In May of 2011, Vinny Boiler released Monochrome Mario 64. This is the first hack that ever came out that really experimented with the art style. In June of 2011, Super Mario 74 by Lugmalord came out. This is one of the most iconic Mario 64 hacks ever, containing a massive 150 stars. It gave players an excellent challenge and hours of entertainment. Later that year, on December 23rd, Skillux finally released Super Mario Star Road. Star Road is an incredible hack that holds up amazingly. This hack features 130 stars and just very solid platforming overall. Star Road is a difficult game, but nowhere near as difficult as Super Mario 74. Many people consider this the sequel to Super Mario 64. It's that good. In 2012, Brodoot released Star Revenge 1: Star Takeover. Star Revenge is a grand series with over 20 games, and it has a naming convention and timeline more complicated than even Kingdom Hearts. He is remaking all his older hacks with his newfound knowledge. Going over the history of Star Revenge could be its own video, so this will be the only time I'll mention the Star Revenge games in this entire video, but just know that from this point forward, there's going to be constant releases of various Star Revenge games. On October 14th, Super Mario Rainbow Road was released by Skillux. For the time, this hack is super impressive, and it even featured some ASM code in it. With 60 stars in total, this is an underrated hack of the time. At this point, Mario 64 ROM hacks finally found a home. Super Mario World Central was the home for Super Mario World ROM hacks, but on October 1st, they opened up their sites to host Mario 64 ROM hacks also. The community finally had a website dedicated to hosting Super Mario 64 ROM hacks. On October 24th, Skillux released Super Mario 64 Multiplayer. This hack was hugely popular, getting over 800,000 views on YouTube. This allowed you to play Super Mario 64 with a friend. Skillux even updated this hack to include Luigi instead of a second Mario, and made it so it could be incorporated into other ROM hacks like Star Road. On July 12th, 2013, Super Mario 64 Year of the Plumber was made by Adobe Meltfire. Although this hack only featured 2 courses and 16 stars, for the time, this hack looked just beautiful. In July, Super Mario 64 The Green Stars was released. This hack was made by Campbell125 and Kaza. This hack featured a ton of quality of life features like a star display, and it contained a whopping 130 stars, and it was just a solid hack overall. At this point in the timeline, Skillux has taken over the development of the level importer and Toadstools, so he kept adding additions to these tools to keep them fresh. But the biggest deal in 2014 was Kaza's Super Mario 64 Chaos Edition. When this game came out, it was a huge success. This game implemented random Game Shark codes constantly, so the player had to constantly adapt to these changes. This game was a huge hit in the streaming community, with even the most subscribed to YouTuber at the time, PewDiePie, playing it. And it brought a lot of people into the ROM hacking scene. This hack was constantly getting updates over the years, and we're currently on version 4.0, which is even console compatible. For Halloween, Kaza and Kinopio released Super Mario 64 Halloween Mayhem. This hack only had 8 stars, but it contained a bunch of really cool custom objects in it. There's one other major story that happened in 2014. EverDrives are getting much more popular around this time. These were Nintendo 64 cartridges with an SD card slot at the top. This allowed you to play any ROM on your Nintendo 64. Although this was possible way back in 1996 with the Dr. V64, those costed $450. Well, an EverDrive would only cost around $100 and was much more user-friendly. People with these EverDrives were trying to play these ROM hacks on actual console, and none of them worked. When Toadstools and the OBJ importer were being developed, people had no idea that EverDrives would eventually become a thing, so these were only tested on emulators, and meant to be played on emulators. Emulators are nowhere near to being perfect, so just because something can play on an emulator doesn't mean it can play on a console. So when the EverDrive came out, not a single one of these ROM hacks actually worked on it. On January 22nd, 2014, Vertex created a post, Super Mario 64 hacks now work on EverDrive 64. An affiliate and I were discussing how everyone on the forums have been going on a rant how Super Mario 64 hacks cannot run on EverDrive 64. Well, I'm here to prove you wrong. The affiliate and I did more research on the 24 to 48 megabyte extended Mario 64 ROMs, and after hours of work to get a single ROM working, we did it. We are not ready to share information on how we did it just yet. We are trying to get 64 megabyte ROMs to function. Here are some clips I recorded off my camera. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me on the forums. The YouTube video has been lost to time, but it was a video of him playing Mario Land 64 on actual console. Initially, everybody on the forum was super excited about this. Vertex was answering everyone's questions for the first day. Vertex didn't post for a couple months, and the forum pretty much turned into people bumping the thread and asking where he went. And some people even started questioning if this was even real. On April 7th, Vertex finally returned back to the forum, and he said, after uploading some videos on YouTube, I noticed some comments still questioning my Mario Land 64 ROM running on real Nintendo 64 hardware. Well, I am back to break the news that I will be releasing the notes very soon. My affiliate has seemed to have left the internet, and I've been trying to contact him for a month now. If I don't hear from him in a week or so about the tool we had planned, or the other project we were working on, expect the notes on a new thread. Vertex said he'd publish his notes in a week, but on the 8th day, people started getting impatient. It's probably fake. After talking a bit to someone who has spent a ton of time working on Super Mario 64 hacks, as well as trying to make them console compatible in the past, they assured me that this is most likely a troll, although they will remain nameless. It's just too convenient that you'd figure out something many people have failed to, and then be all secretive about it. Who is unreliable? The guy that has put his name out there, or the naysayer who will remain nameless, hiding in the shadows like a This guy owes us absolutely nothing. Laying in bed scratching his balls may be more important than getting notes out to some ungrateful on the interweb. If it comes, it comes. Chill. The naysayer who immediately recognized the guy's name when I asked him about it is more reliable. Lol. I doubt he'd give a if I said his name, but to avoid drama on his end, I won't. I've been busy as hell, so everybody needs to calm the down. I don't have to release the notes, you know, and after seeing most of the people for who they really are, because I'm a tad late and think I'm faking, really pisses me the to an extent where I don't even want to release the notes. I suggest you chill instead of accusing me of being fake. Does my channel look like I'm a fake? I've been hacking Mario 64 for 5 years. Have patience. Damn it. Oh, and by the way, the liar has a download here. You think I'm faking? Tell me that again. And Vertex left a download link to his ROM hack, Wacky Worlds, which worked on console. Everybody that accused Vertex of faking ended up apologizing, and Vertex accepted everybody's apology. The next day, Vertex made another forum about how to play these Mario 64 ROM hacks on your EverDrive. Problem had to do with a byte misalignment. Kyle was able to make a program where you would drop in the ROM and it would realign the bytes back. This program only fixed ROM hacks that were 24 megabits or less. Almost anything higher and the game would just crash immediately. So this means the only hacks that you could play on console were hacks that only used toadstools and not the level importer. And even then, some of the hacks would be extremely glitchy. So this was a first huge step in the right direction for console compatibility in the future. On April 5th, 2015, Brodude and Kaza released Goomba's Easter egg hunt. This is really cool because in this game you get to play as a custom Goomba, and this Goomba contains custom movement. This ROM hack has 20 stars and contains a couple stages from Glover, and overall you can definitely kind of see the touch of Brodude and Kaza. 2016 was a pretty good year for ROM hacking. Kaza released Super Donkey Kong 64, which puts the world of Donkey Kong 64 into Mario 64 with a bunch of cool custom mechanics. Super Releasio 64 was released by Kaza and Tomato Bird, which, for those of you that don't know what it is, consider yourself lucky. In July of 2016, the Super Mario 64 level importer changed its name to Super Mario 64 Editor 2.0. So this level editor was still being updated pretty frequently. On July 7th, Super Mario 64 hacks.com was completed. This site contained a database of all the ROM hacks with their download links, and some other useful tools. This site also contained a wiki page. This wiki page is incredibly useful. It contains most of the major hacks, and contains some useful information you won't find anywhere else, like the song list for a ROM hack. On July 9, 2020, this site was merged with another site, SuperMario64ROMHacks.com. These two sites were extremely similar, so them being merged makes perfect sense. This site hosts a ton of events that are still happening to this day. And arguably the most anticipated hack ever came out, Super Mario 64 Last Impact. At the time, this hack was completely revolutionary with custom cutscenes, so many custom mechanics, including custom power-ups. As great as I find this hack, it's kind of funny. If you look at the description of this hack, it says, "I don't really recommend playing this game anymore in 2020X, but it serves as a museum of new assembly mechanics that will never exist again. In 2030, they'll get ready to play it." On April 14th, the final update of Toadstools was released. But at this point, Toadstools could barely run on Windows 10. Some users had to use a VirtualBox just to run the program even. In July, however, David East released Quad 64. This was a tool that was made to pretty much replace Toadstools 64. Also, Quad 64's edits were console compatible, unlike Toadstools. October 14th, Skillux released Super Smash Bros. 3D. It was Super Smash Bros. Recreated in the Mario 64 engine, and it was a very cool ROM hack. And on December 8th, the last version of the Super Mario 64 editor was released, version 2.2. In December, Nebula released Super Mario 64 Sapphire. This is a 30-star hack that is very sequel-esque to the original game. The difficulty is very reasonable, so if you've only beaten Mario 64 once, you should be able to beat this hack. At the time, most hacks were going for pretty crazy difficulty, so to have a hack kinda tone it down a little bit was much appreciated. In March 2018, Kaza released Super Mario 64 Ocarina of Time. This was a huge hack with 171 stars. This hack contained a bunch of custom mechanics and was just humongous. On April 13, 2018, Pills and Cells 64 released Super Mario 64 ROM Manager. This program was made to replace Skelux's Super Mario 64 editor. This tool could also do everything Toadstools and Quad 64 could do also. It contains a level manager, level editor, music manager, model converter, a text manager, custom model importer. You can do patches and tweaks, a path editor, item box content editor, star position editor, HUD options. It pretty much had everything. So it ended up replacing those tools too, and now this is the go-to tool that is still being updated to this day. And games made with this editor are console compatible also. But just because a game can be played on console doesn't mean it should. This footage isn't being slowed down. This is how a game made on ROM Manager that was meant for emulators plays on console. When modeling this level and testing this level, only the emulator was taken into consideration. So at this time, to get something to work well on console, you needed to use models with a lower try count and textures that weren't too big. So with ROM Manager, if you had console compatibility in mind, you could easily make a console compatible ROM hack, but a majority of creators at the time made their models for emulators and only tested on emulators, so console compatibility was still pretty niche. On April 22nd, Simpleflips announced his first ROM hacking competition.
My idea is a competition for best single level ROM hack that will be played on stream. Whatever ends up being the funniest and the coolest to watch will win cash prizes. I'll be having the Twitch chat vote on what their favorite was in chunk, and if this goes well, each time I do this it'll have a different theme, but the first theme is Nathaniel Bandy every time.
This ROM hacking competition was incredibly successful. It had 21 entries, and Alchemist ended up winning with their ROM hack Scuttle Pirate Bandy. On June 25th, Simpleflips made his second hacking competition with the theme of slides. Aglab2 won with Casino Bingo Slide. This is an incredible hack with fantastic looking scrolling textures, and it even has a BLJ cutscene. Dan from Gomeplay TV got second place with Cascade Slide, and this slide just looks amazing also. In August, Aloexado created Bounce Tales 64. This is one of the first hacks ever that was made with console compatibility in mind. In October, Past the Power released the Super Mario Bros. Super Show 64. This ROM hack was based on the TV show, and it was just incredibly clever to see these areas from the show remade in the Mario 64 engine. In October, Simpleflips announced his third hacking competition with the theme of Halloween. Fileg won this competition with his hack Halloween at Booze. November 1st, the next Simpleflips competition was created, Reimagine Level. So for this competition, you have to reimagine an original level from Super Mario 64, and this competition was amazing. There was so many great hacks in this. Falag ended up winning with Womp's Castle. Snooplax also released Hazy Maze Slide, and this was the first time a comp hack was made with consoles in mind. On December 7th, Simpleflips announced his Christmas competition, which was won by Gonplay TV with Adventure in the Snow Globe. This was just overall a fantastic looking level. In January of 2019, Simpleflips announced his Troll Hack competition. The winner of this competition was Falag with their ROM hack, romhack.exe. On March 13th, Simpleflips announced his Retro Hack competition. This was another fantastic competition with a great theme. Falcobuster ended up winning with his ROM hack, Marble Zone 3D. This ROM hack puts Marble Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog into Mario 64. In March of 2019, our third elite released the Super Mario 64 randomizer. This game randomizes the star placement, the coin placement, and much more. Every time you play this game, you get a whole new experience, and this game is being updated constantly, and is even console compatible. In May, SM64 Pi released Super Slide 64. This was a full ROM hack with 48 stars that was mainly just slides. If you're a fan of slides in Super Mario 64, this is a must-play hack. In May, Simpleflips announced his Creepypasta competition, where Anonymous Moose won with their hack, Regular Pasta. In June, Foxen and Thorndust released Super Mario and the Cursed Castles. This is a full 121 star hack that is just very good quality and has a very reasonable difficulty. July's Simpleflips hosted his linear hack competition. Falcobuster took first place with Shroom Raider. In August of 2019, Super Mario 64 was completely decompiled. When Mario 64 is compiled, it is a bunch of MIPS assembly code. When Nintendo coded these games initially, they coded it in C. Then their C code was compiled into MIPS assembly language. So prior to this, if you wanted any sort of custom objects or mechanics in your game, you would have to code it in MIPS assembly language. Now there was another way to make hacks. Decompile the game to C code, change the C code, which is very easy to read, then recompile the game. Hackers were ecstatic about this, and a bunch of projects started being worked on. At this point though, Decomp was pretty new, so most people were still just using Rom Manager. In September, Simpleflips had a second Halloween hacking competition, which was won by SPK with their hack Super Spooky Mario 666 demo. In November, Kaza released Super Mario 3D Land, which was inspired by Super Mario 3D World. This was a grand hack with 131 stars and overall just very impressive. In October, Pasta Power released Super Melee Adventure 64. This was a really neat ROM hack which featured multiple playable characters that had really cool custom character models. This hack was pretty much Melee's adventure mode reimagined to be Mario 64 levels. In November, Simpleflips announced his mystery hacking competition. This competition was won by Anonymous Moose with their hack, The Search for Mystery. In December, Super Mario 64 Star Display came out. It was an incredibly useful tool for emulators that tracked your stars and ROM hacks. This tool could also be used to edit your save file and edit other aspects of the game. At the end of the year, Falcobuster released Bowser's Blueprints. This tool was an alternative to ROM Manager. This program was created because Falcobuster was running a Linux machine and ROM Manager doesn't work on Linux. So he made his own program that would work on Linux. ROM Manager has a little bit more features and it's being updated more consistently. So most people just use ROM Manager, but if you're on Linux, Bowser's Blueprints is a great alternative. In January of 2020, Kaza released multiplayer split screen for Mario 64. This hack allowed you to play Mario 64 with a friend and was incredibly impressive. This hack runs on console and was made using Decomp. In February, Mr. Comet released Mario Party 64. These were all the Mario Party 1 boards turned into Mario 64 levels. This was a fantastic hack that is just incredibly creative. SNDBB hosted a ROM hacking competition with the theme of thwomps. Some of these hacks have been lost to time, but the winner of this competition was The Search for a Cool Hat by Anonymous Moose. In April, Simpleflips announced his Zelda hacking competition. There was a bunch of notable entries in this one, but the winner was Falcobuster with Fallen Kingdom. In April, Kaza and Bioback released Super Mario Odyssey 64. This brought in a bunch of levels from Odyssey and a bunch of mechanics from Odyssey into Mario 64. In May, the PC port of Super Mario 64 was released. This port could run the game at 4K resolutions and was made possible because of Super Mario 64 being decompiled. This now offered a totally new type of mod, a mod of the PC port, and just days after this game came out, people were modding ray tracing through the PC port. In July, Render 96 was released. Mario 64 had a lot of renders and art that were released alongside with it. All these renders were very high quality, but to get graphics like this wasn't possible on the Nintendo 64. Render 96 is a project that aims to make Mario 64 look like the renders. This game has been getting constant updates and is still being updated to this day. Their goal is to recreate every single level of the game to look more like the renders. These updates introduce multiple playable characters and much more. In July, SNDBB announced a second ROM hacking competition with a theme of competitions. The winner of this competition was our Thirtily with the 2020 Mushroom Kingdom Olympics. In August, SNDBB announced their Atmosphere competition. Our Thirtily and Cowquack won with their hack Yume Nikki 64. In August, another Mario adventure was released. This hack is notable because it was made in collaboration with 11 people. This hack was in development for over 2 years and was one of the first times that a collaboration like this ever happened. The collaboration was incredibly successful, making a fantastic hack. In November, Lugmalord released Lug's Delightful Dioramas. This was a new genre of hack, a diorama hack. At this time, some hacks were big for the sake of being big, so Lugmalord decided to do the opposite, to make tiny levels that were squeezed with fun. In December 6th, the last SNDBB competition was announced with the theme Media. This competition was never concluded though, so there was no winner. One hack that came out of this competition though was Drawn to Life 64 by Cowquack. This hack was incredibly impressive because it let you draw your own character. This hack was made using Decomp, and it really shows just how creative you can be with Decomp. At this time, more and more hackers were starting to switch from Rom Manager to Decomp. At this point, Decomp even had a special hacker SM64 build of Mario 64, which made the game a lot easier to hack and had a bunch of quality of life improvements. This build is being updated constantly, and almost anybody that is hacking on Decomp is using this build. In February, Kaza released Return to Yoshi's Island 64. This was a fantastic demo, but the most impressive part about this is that it can all run on console. So since Mario 64 has been decompiled, Kaza has been working on optimizing the game for consoles. Kaza read and potentially edited over 100,000 lines of Super Mario 64's code and optimized them. This allows the game to run 6 times faster on consoles. Return to Yoshi's Island still hasn't come out yet, and Kaza is still working on it and optimizing Mario 64 to this day. So the release of Return to Yoshi's Island might be the most anticipated hack release of all time. Not only because a fantastic game will be released, but also when this game is released, the engine that it was made on will become publicly available. So this means that any hacks made with this engine will have all the optimizations Kaza has made. Also, this engine will improve console compatibility tremendously. In February, the first Scuttlebug Razor competition was announced, with the rule of it has to contain 30 stars. Rionu ended up winning with their hack Mario's Vacation Course. This is an amazing ROM hack that was made using Decomp. It runs excellently on console, and you start off with no moves, and as you progress through the game and collect stars, you keep unlocking more and more moves. In March, the first ever Mario Jams competition was announced, and this was the Mario Jams Duality competition. SPK ended up winning with their hack, Super Mario 64 The Parallel Universes. This hack lets you switch to a parallel universe with a touch of a button. In April, Moors released Super Mario 64 Plus. This was a mod for the PC port. This added a bunch of quality of life changes and a bunch of custom settings. It also added a controller mapping function. On the original PC port was pretty hard to do. So if you didn't want to play Render 96, this almost became the definitive way to play the PC port. In May, Simpleflips announced romhacking.com. This is a revolutionary website for the Mario 64 ROM hacking community. Majority of the information that I've been showing in this entire video is coming directly from this website. This site launched with over 1,200 hacks, all with pictures or videos to show you what the hacks were like. This website even contains an active leaderboard for who has collected the most star points. Every hack has a quality rating and a difficulty rating. This makes it incredibly easy to find quality hacks that suit your difficulty needs. You can create a profile and track every single ROM hack you've completed and every single star that you've collected, and this data is what is used in the leaderboards. You can have playlists of ROM hacks like want to play, in progress, completed, favorites, or even just add your own playlists. And one of the most useful features about this site is its compatibility with the emulator parallel launcher. You see, at this point, almost everybody was just using Project 60. It was annoying to find the right graphics plugins with Project 64, and the emulator was definitely showing its age. ROMhacking.com is integrated into the emulator parallel launcher though. So just by launching the emulator, you can see all the ROM hacks and choose anyone to play with the click of a button. Also, if you have the right settings configured, on the site you can just click the Play Now button and download and launch any game in an instant. In May, Mario Jams released their Evolution competition. The winner of this competition was Aglab2 with their hack, Tribal Tropics. In July, Scuttlebug Razor hosted their second competition. With the rule, 3 Bowser fights must be visited. Usernames or Spiders won this competition with their hack, Blossoming Buds. In November, Mario Jams had their Disaster competition. This competition was won by Anonymous Moose with their hack, Garfield Desolation. In November, Scuttlebug Razor hosted their third ROM hacking competition. This competition had the theme of making a hack out of a hack. The winner of the hack was Aglab2 with their hack, Escape from Jail Definitive Edition. This was a remaster of the hack Zetar Attack 0.5, Mario Escape from the Jail. This was a great remaster and it runs excellently on console. In May, Mario Jams had their Shell Shredding competition. Extreme Shell Delivery won, and it was made by Furious Fight, Rovert, and SBK, and had similar mechanics to the Tony Hawk games. In June, Simpleflips announced his music theme competition. This competition had over 40 entries. Cheespin and Mr. Comet won with their hack, Rhythm Mario 64.5, Crescendo of Cosmic Beast. One of the most impressive hacks in this competition though was Guitar Hero 64 made by Arctic Jaguar. This was a decomp hack that completely remade Guitar Hero in the Super Mario 64 engine. In July, Chris R. Leo released B3313. This ROM hack is like no other I've ever played. It's been getting constant updates and is now at 170 stars. This hack is based on the Super Mario 64 beta, and going through this hack is like going through a gigantic maze. There will be times when you're playing this game and you'll get to a certain area and you just know that you're never going to be coming back there because the route that you took to get there, you're never going to remember it. It seems endless and plays constant tricks on you, so it makes you question the game itself. It is incredibly popular on YouTube, and I could probably make a whole video about B3313. In January of 2022, Simpleflips announced his crossover hack competition. Team Cornersoft won with their hack Mario vs. WarioWare. This was WarioWare remade in the Super Mario 64 engine. This is an incredibly creative hack that was made with Decomp and also works on console. Another great hack that came out of the crossover competition is Kaza's Peach's Fury. This was an amazing level, similar to Mario's Vacation course, with 25 stars jam-packed into one huge level. Because of Kaza's optimizations for console that we talked about earlier, this ROM hack runs perfectly on console. In April, Kaza released Super Mario 64 Through the Ages. This is one of the first major mods released that exclusively used Decomp, so this game had a ton of custom unique features like Pokemon partners. In August, Simpleflips announced his Dream Theme competition. Team Cornersoft ended up winning this competition once again with their ROM hack Elise. This ROM hack is incredibly creative and has one of the most unique art styles I've ever seen. In October, Serene Fusion was released. This was a huge cross-collab by over 15 creators. This is the highest rated hack on ROMhacking.com, and I think it deserves it. This is arguably the best hack of all time. It features a bunch of courses from Super Mario 74 remade, and overall the platforming is perfect, it looks amazing, and it's the perfect difficulty. Since it was made with Decomp, it contains so many custom mechanics, and overall, just a fantastic hack. In October, Dan from Goneplay TV released Mystery of the Capsmith demo. This was an incredibly impressive demo that was made for Scuttlebug Razor's 4th competition with the theme of caps. This won the competition hands down, and this is just overall a beautiful looking hack with some cool cap mechanics. In November, Mario Jams released their 1 competition. This competition was won with the hack Dimension, made by Arctic Jaguar, Rianu, and the Cozies. This is another great decomp hack, where you have to only do one of certain actions. In February of 2023, Dog Collab was released. This mod was another collaboration mod. In this mod, you have a dog that follows you around and can help you out during the levels. This is a full mod with 73 stars, and it works excellently on console. In March, Mario Jams announced their Facade competition. The results for these hacks haven't been released yet. Team Cornersoft's mod Antworks is incredibly impressive though. This is another decomp hack, and it doesn't even look like Mario 64. In May, Rovert released Super Mario 64 Beyond the Cursed Mirror. This is a massive 120 star hack that contains a badge system, custom costumes. It was made completely with decomp, and it also runs great on consoles too. Definitely a hack worth checking out. In July, Kaza released Only Up 64. This hack was made for Simpleflips troll hacking competition. This competition is still ongoing, so the results haven't been published yet. This hack aims to recreate the game Only Up in the Mario 64 engine, and using the physics engine in Mario 64 for Only Up-esque game is a great idea. This ROM hack became incredibly popular to stream, with streamers like Simply even streaming it. This hack is incredibly difficult though. Another unique thing about this mod is that it has great music, and the music was actually made using AI. If you know what you're doing, it would only take you about 15 minutes to complete. Saying that though, it took me 13 hours to complete. And that takes us to today. What this community has accomplished is absolutely mind-blowing, and huge shoutouts to all the creators. If you found any of these creators interesting, I'll have all their YouTube channels listed in the description down below. Thanks for checking out this video. If you could leave a like or maybe consider subscribing, I'd really appreciate it, and I hope that you all have a great day.